Hi guys. So today I'm going to do a really quick rough tank side view, and then really quickly I'm going to plot this tank out in 3/4 view. One of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes. There we go. And I'll start off with a standard letter size 8.5 by 11 page with 300 resolution. Another first thing I like to do, oops. Another first thing I like to do is make a new layer and zoom right in here so I have plenty of real estate to work with. Okay, so like any vehicle, you want to first have a goal about, all right, what's the purpose of this vehicle? What's it going to do? You don't want to necessarily just throw out a bunch of abstract objects and try to make them make sense. Don't get me wrong, sometimes it's great for coming up with proportions. I think Scott Robinson's a master of this stuff, so anything I say that might conflict with what Scott says, please disregard. Anyways, tank tread's one of the most important things for having a legit tank, I think. And I'm just indicating that. Another thing is you're gonna have that little room area. You also want to have very angular, steel, tough looking surfacing. So I think maybe I'll have this cylinder on top, and then it has a little short barrel going this way. I think Daniel Simon did one of these tanks. He's the master. Anyways, put a little canopy on top. This wheel in the back kind of feels a little awkward. Anyways, once I get to this point, I like to, for my own sake, go in there with a big fat brush, get the whole thing, and then erase around the boundary so I have a better idea of what I'm working with. And I'm going to avoid that barrel for now. There we go. Okay, let's see. I can duplicate that. Just try to get a little bit better 1, 2, 3 read on this guy. There we go, that's better. All right, I'm going to merge all these layers. That's my tank. I'm going to duplicate it. And what I'm doing next is, like I said, I'm going to quickly rough this out in a 3/4 view. And I'm not going to have enough time to do all the values, but just plot it out, which is one of the toughest things to do. One way I like to plot my objects out is to get the foundation right. The package, the proportions, I'll make a box that holds my whole vehicle. And in this case, I'm kind of avoiding the barrel for now. And then I'll split that box in half, split it again in half, and again, and horizontally. And now I can translate this box, and if I get it correctly, in 3/4 view. So I like to start off with a box with a X. I have to think about how wide I want this tank to be. And I'm going to go for a typical 2:1 ratio. So it's twice as long as it is wide. And now I'm going to make that box, and it's kind of a tall box. So I want to kind of be careful here. I think something like that would work. Split it in half, split it in half, and then cut it in half this way. And it looks like I'm getting pretty close to the proportions. And I'm using a lot of the perspective lines and guesstimating a lot. So it may not be the perfect way to do this, but It definitely works better than not doing it at all, at least for me. Okay, let's see, how much time do I have? All right, I'm halfway there. So I have my bounding box. Whenever in doubt, I'll make a new layer. Maybe I'll lower the opacity on this box so it doesn't bother me as much. Now I'm going to plot out my vehicle from side view to 3/4 view. Now I have the proportions. So it's almost like that, the grid of, if you take a picture and try to blow it up, how would you do it? You use this grid. And I'm kind of doing that instead. I'm taking it to 3/4 view. One of the first things I like to start off with most cars is the wheels and also the center line. Maybe in this case, I'll start off with the wheels. So the wheel looks like it would take like almost a whole box. And that's going to land in this box here. And in this box. I'm going to extrude that and to kind of draw through that box there. I want this to be a nice cylinder. And I want to reference a lot of primitive objects at this point. Put that there. On top of this is what my tread is. And my tread does go halfway up these boxes. So if I call this 1 and 2, most of the tread and that stuff is in 2. Now put down the center line, and the center line has this angle right off of the wheel. So maybe it goes up, and if I were to cut this in this spot, it's like 1, 2, oops, 1, 2, 3. So if I split that up in 1, 2, 3s, it hits about a third way up. I think that looks good. Vertically, it's almost at the end of the first box. So this is the end of the first box. It's almost so from here. And that's the little magic spot. And then the very top of this turret is taking up the second box. It's taking up this spot a little bit further back. And that's the angle I'm looking for. And that's the length of my turret from this angle. And from there, it goes down at a similar angle. And I'll make a straight line from here using perspective. And from that point, it shoots down to the center line of that rear ellipse. Here, it's going to shoot down to there. Okay, so now the tricky thing is this upper surface and how I'm going to do that. Now, because this is cylindrical shape, I'm going to simplify it into a square, even-sided square in perspective. Put a little dot in the middle of the lines, put a little dot just off the middle of those dots. A little circle there. And then I'm going to have a bigger version of that circle in the lower part. Something like that. Now the surface on the ends, it gets a little bit tricky. We have our tread thickness here. This stuff I'm kind of making up at this point. To kind of help myself read this a little bit better. That surface coming there. Angles down. That angles down. So maybe what's happening here is it comes up and then it goes down. And I think I've somewhat got it in there. See how much time I have left? So I have pretty much just a minute left. The gun barrel comes out of this box just a bit. I put a little box to indicate it, and it lands right there. One of the most important things is you want to flip this. Make sure everything's looking okay. And I think this is okay, except the tail is out of perspective. So I'm going to come in here, clean that up. It's a lot like a car. Tank treads in there. One thing to keep in mind right now, everything's loose, everything's rough. The next stage, the next step is to go in there and develop this a little bit more. So there I am with a really loose sketch, but I think the proportions are right. From side view to 3/4 view. Okay, so the next lesson I'm going to go through is cleaning that 3/4 view that's plotted out.